Hello, Jacques. I think you're still on mute.
The great cathedral of something or other.
Actually, that's what it does look like, but it's not a cathedral.
Isn't that special? Then it's a train station.
It might look like one that you're aware of, but it's not a train station.
Oh,
There
it's
are
not.
clues in the picture.
It's some evidence that it might be a library.
Bingo. Third try, you got it. Do you know which library?
Actually, no, but the best guess would be Library of Congress.
Good guess, but no.
No shit.
This is Suzzallo Library, the main library at University of Washington.
Are you kidding me?
No, I am not. That's where my daughter went to school. I've studied there. She studied
Um,
there. It's a pretty cool place. It's a cool building.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Actually, not that I ever knew that you like that sort of thing, but that's only like 30 miles from here if you ever do come visit again. Of course, that's as the crow flies, eagle flies, whatever.
The I've been in some libraries that blew me away, but not quite like that one.
It actually is this impressive when you walk in. I mean, the picture is impressive,
Oh, no
but the actual
doubt.
place is impressive.
You kind of expect there's a pipe organ at the end of the hall there.
Yeah, unless they put one in since the last time I was there, I don't think there is one. In fact, you don't see any pipes.
Yep.
If there was one to take advantage of a space like this, you would see the pipes. Yeah. But you can sort of see that down below there are stacks of books.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty cool place. UW is I was surprised at one time, and I don't check every year, but at one time it was rated like, the 16th best university in the United States or the world, one of them, probably the United States.
Well, it was where some of the coolest symbolic AI shit got done.
That I'm less aware of, but Tektronix is not far away, and that's where, one of the list machines was actually being worked on many decades ago. And they do a lot of cool stuff in medicine up here as well. And I think
It The director of that AI lab went over and became the first director of Allen AI.
oh, okay. I did not know that. I didn't keep up on all the business moves.
He seems to have retired. I don't know. Yeah, I don't. He's not listed in their upper crust.
Hey, Kayla, welcome.
Hi.
Yo,
Yeah, Jack was guessing. He played a guessing game on where this was, the picture I've got as my Zoom background.
Ooh, are those books?
They are books. You did notice.
Yeah, of course. I love books.
Yeah, this is actually yes. Can you recognize where this building is?
No, but it kind of looks like a church.
It kind of does.
Yeah, it has like you know, like it would be a cross, like the long end of the cross.
But you know me well enough to think that, would I actually have a church as my background on Zoom?
Unless you wanted to talk about it.
Oh, maybe that's a good way to introduce topics from here on out, right?
I
Yeah, that's
guess.
a pretty cool idea. Anyway, you get three guesses. Jack got it on his third guess. Well, that it was a library, but he didn't actually figure out where it was.
Mm, the Vatican? No,
Uh, Again, would I put the Vatican up as my background?
no. Let's see. Uh, it almost looks like Harry Potter too. So
It
maybe
does.
somewhere in Europe.
It's actually not.
Oh, Chicago?
No.
Oh, that's three guesses.
Yeah. See, unless you know, you would probably be surprised where it is. This is Suzzallo Library, the main library at University of Washington.
Ah, okay. Nice.
Yeah, it's not usually listed as a place to visit, but it's actually a pretty cool place to visit. I guess, the travel companies don't think that most tourists like to go to libraries. Yeah, but this is where my daughter Amy used to study when she
Oh,
was in school there.
did she look up? Hopefully she looked
Uh,
up.
okay, well, thank you both for playing the guessing game. I didn't actually think that would introduce a guessing game, but that's kind of cool. But Kayla, I was just curious, since this is now Sunday, the day after, how did your event go?
Oh my gosh, it went really well. It had
Ah,
the experience that I wanted it to have. So,
how many phone numbers did you
yeah.
get?
How many what?
Phone numbers did you get?
I
I'm
don't know
just
about
kidding.
phone numbers, but like emails maybe.
Yeah, I'm just kidding, Kayla.
I hope you are. As you know, that is not my favorite topic.
So how did Melissa think it went?
She thought it went really well. Everybody, every single person that I spoke to had nothing but, oh my God, this was so good. And I had, this was better than the previous events.
Okay.
So to give you, I don't know if you guys ever heard me mention my events, but just to kind of give you context, when I first started this position, nobody had like an actual fundraiser in their organization. And as you know, nonprofit organizations rely on donations and grants, and alternative funding. So this organization was the very first organization that discovered it was actually, um, you know, I wouldn't say started by county contracts, but it's definitely run for sure by county contracts. And so they didn't really have a need for fundraising, but the executive director had recognized at least like the importance of fundraising, especially since we were going through some county revisions at the time. So I pitched myself as the fundraising director or the director of development. And they had never actually had a fundraising event. And so the ED and the board, very few of them actually went to a fundraising event. So we didn't have a budget. Our first year our budget was like 3,000 or something. The second year our budget was relatively the same. And then last year our budget increased to 5,000. And people who are in fundraising just are in awe about how that actually works. So yes, you can put a fundraising event with close to nothing, but it's not going to have the desired experience that you want it to have. And I'm used to like um, fundraising events that at least produce six figures. So um, just having a limited budget was really frustrating. I don't believe so much in pinching pennies, especially when it comes for donors, because I think that they should have the experience. And so this year, I'd concentrated on sponsorship, and I know I should have concentrated on sponsorships before, but I was hoping that the executive director and our board would concentrate on that while I did the details. So, you know, it was a learning lesson. knowing if the top doesn't, know how to fundraise, of course, they're not going to do what you'd hope for them to do. So this year I concentrated on the sponsorships and got us a lot of money. And so some of that money was used for this fundraising event. And we were able to get an actual caterer with their professional staff serving. We got a bartender with their professional staff serving. We were able to do a hosted bar, so nobody had to pay for that. We did this event at the Museum of Ventura County, which is a really nice event. They had professional staff on hand. And so the experience for everybody, including our volunteers, was had the desired effect I wanted. I wanted people to see, like, if you just put a little bit of put your concentration on sponsorships and then also like think of the donor experience, then of course, the outcome will be a desired outcome. And then Montecito Bank was there. So they the manager personally came up to me and said, like, I'm looking forward to doing business with you or partnering with you. And I'm like, yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Wow. So when a
Yeah.
bank comes and says, I want to do business, does that mean that they're willing to make donations?
Yeah, it's usually that they will invest in,
Right.
and donate to the cause.
That's really cool. So do you hand out things like commitment cards, or do you actually collect money on site?
We collect money on site and then capture their information there, or we hope to capture their information. So everything's a process, especially when you have to start from the ground up. And then when you have people who don't understand it or want to do it their way, or they think about, like, we got a lot of opinions, and sometimes the opinions are a little tempting. So shh, stop barking.
Yep. Opinions are like asses, right? Everybody's got one.
And it's really interesting to hear some of the opinions sometimes, because the opinions are very limiting. The imagination, there's very few people who have imagination that's that kind of frees their limiting opinion. Not too many people can think outside of the box, is a better way to say it.
So how
and
many
so I
people
get
came?
all these.
Oh, sorry.
Be quiet. Get away. Stop.
Okay,
my dog is like barking. But anyhow, that was me yesterday. I know it's boring.
No. Give me a sense of how many people were there. Like, how big was this event? I know you said it was a nice
Wasn't as
museum.
big. It was bigger than the last time. We had like 80 people.
That's a good size.
It is a good size. I'm used to 500. That's what I'm used to.
Yeah, so you got a target, and now Melissa wants you to do 250 next year.
Yeah. I need more support, and I need a bigger paycheck. Because I'm kind of done with limiting myself in everything.
Well, did you make it into the socialites circle page of the newspaper?
Ew. Oh no.
I don't even know if they have those things anymore, but yeah, when I used to have newspapers, uh, it would be the section where all the famous rich people, are at parties wearing fancy clothes. I thought, why is this news? Why do people want this? And then, of course, it sells newspapers.
Yeah.
Excuse me a second. I have a sore throat for some reason. I got to get something to drink. Then I'll come check in. But I gotta go. Hey, Jack hasn't checked in yet, other than asking about where this picture was. Anything
Okay,
going on,
Jack,
Jack?
it's your turn.
Um, what do you do when it's your turn?
You check in.
Well, I'm still kicking. What else is there to say?
Congratulations, Jack.
Yes. Oh man.
Can you hear me or is my audio?
Well, it's are you downstairs? Because you sound like you're underwater again.
Yeah, I am downstairs. So I'll get upstairs.
Yeah. So we'll wait for you. It's okay.
It
Okay,
would be
I am
hard for Sam to be underwater because his home is at least a couple 100 feet above the water.
300.
300 feet, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I am back, although the coffee is still brewing, so I'm gonna have to do this one more time. But since you mentioned that you're still kicking, I got a really interesting video from Sam Chan yesterday. Hopefully, you guys
Oh,
remember Sam Chan.
yeah.
It was a video of a young man who had been in some kind of an accident, and then after the accident, when he was recovering, he lost consciousness. And it seemed like he lost consciousness for like 2.5 months. He was in a coma. And he described his near-death experience. And I thought it was interesting that Sam Chan sent that to me. So I'm really curious about phenomena like that because I don't understand them. But when there is information, I do love to examine it. So I thought that was an interesting it was an interesting choice for Sam to re-engage and send me that.
Wow.
I think I asked you yesterday though, Jack. Did you remember Sam Chan? Was he here when you were here?
No, I really don't remember him.
Yeah. He's
Look,
about my
I I
age.
I had what's called a near-death experience when I crashed the airplane I built.
Mm.
I banged my head on the roll bar and was unconscious until um, the airplane settled deeper in the water and the water hit my face and I was wide awake. I have
Did you?
no memories of
All right. Oh, okay.
near death experience.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Well, this person, and again, it's kind of hard to understand, and it would take more investigation. But this person described seeing a place, feeling a feeling, and this person that he saw, he didn't see a lot of people. He only saw one person. The person was wearing a long trench coat, couldn't see the face, but told him something. Not didn't tell him very much. So 2.5 months later, when he recovered, um, he told his dad that that was what happened. You know, not much happened, but this is what happened. And his dad just listened and didn't, say anything at that time. But 2.5 days later, or some number of days later, came back and showed him a picture of his grandfather in a long trench coat.
Oh,
And this guy says, "Yeah, that's who I saw."
Reminder from Sam.
Now again, I'm taking this as information, but I like, instances of information like this. It's something to dig into. Now, there is a possibility, I say, they don't explore this, that somehow, maybe much younger in his childhood, maybe he had seen that picture. That wasn't asked in this video, but it was assumed that he hadn't seen it.
But it's still possible.
Yeah, yeah. What is a little bit common across some of these instances that I hear about is people experience being quote unquote in this field or this condition of what they call love. And I don't know what that means. He said it just felt completely at ease, no fear, no anxiety. There was a light. A lot of other people report there is a light. So it's kind of like a tunnel with a light. So that element seems to also be common. So maybe that's an invitation from Sam Chan for me to engage with him on topics like this, or to schedule topics like this and invite him back.
Did he just not end up just not going into the meetings anymore? Or...
Well, I don't know if you recall, but about 2 years ago, approximately, it may have been slightly less, slightly more.
Mm-hmm.
He says he really hit some deep depression, and that was new. He had never experienced that before. And so he had anxiety about running his company. He had anxiety about several things. And so I've had probably 4 or 5 talks with him since then because I check in on him from time to time. And I think he says last time I spoke with him, which was like 2 weeks ago, he says he's about 80% back, but he says he's still got a small ways to go before he feels normal again. But you remember Jack? I mean, sorry, you don't remember Jack. Kayla, you remember that when he was here, he was often quite engaged, especially with
Yes,
Barry. Like he
yes,
would, offer things to Barry. He would, offer his perspective on a lot of things. He
yes.
wasn't shy when he was here.
No.
And he sent Barry a number of toys for Barry to play with.
Aww.
He sent him a whole HP computer that he didn't use anymore. He sent him a 3D scanner. He sent him all kinds of things. He's never sent me any of these toys, I say, petulantly. But yeah, Sam's a pretty cool guy. I met him probably 10 years ago, I think. It was at a workshop that I attended in 2015. Oh, Jack, yeah, since you know the Bay Area, his company is on a street called Moore Park in San Jose,
Okay.
which I'm pretty sure you know about. It's just, one of the streets parallel to 280 down in San
Yep.
Jose.
Yep.
Well, there's two things that come to my mind. Number one is we definitely take things for granted. I think it's so nice to hear it, like that Sam Chan sent some of those toys over to Barry before he
Hmm.
passed.
Hmm.
I would have liked to do that too. But anyways, you don't really consider it, of course, until it's kind of too late. So that's number one. And then number two, um, when my dad passed prior to his final days, he was hallucinating quite a bit. And it went from he was partially in this world to his hallucinations. No, no, no. first it went from he was in this world and his hallucinations were a mild part of it. Like he, when he was in the hospital, he looked like he was cooking, and he would see me at like the corner of his bed and say like, "Hey, there's food here. I'm cooking, or come back later," or something like that. It was really hard for him to hear because he had gotten a stroke, and it affected his speech, unfortunately. But he was doing things like that. Or he would tell me, like, I'd be standing next to him and he'd tell me, "Oh, hey, move. Somebody's trying to talk to me." So he was conscious about me being there. And then when the nurse came in, it was like all the hallucinations kind of stopped. And he would answer the nurse or the doctor. And so that was like the first stage of his hallucinations. And then he would hallucinate at home, kind of the same thing. And then it got a little bit more intense. Like he started to really be immersed in the other world where he wasn't even seeing us anymore. We would call out to him. We would, you know, I think sometimes I would put my head in front of his face and he'd come out of it and smile at me, but then he'd go back into it with his hallucinations. But I kind of knew his time was near when he started talking to people who passed. And that to me was very fascinating. Like he spoke with his mom, whom he hadn't seen since he was like a young man. I think he was 20 when she passed. Um, he was speaking with my uncle who passed a couple of years ago. He was speaking with his favorite cousin. That to me was fascinating. Um, so he would have these just complete conversations with people, and we would ask him, like, who are you talking to? And he would say somebody's name that I didn't recognize, but apparently my mom recognized. And so, I always tried to prepare the family, like, hey, when he starts talking to dead people, he's pretty much very close to dying. And I've heard that, and I've seen it, like in various social media platforms. I've read it, and that's usually what happens when people are close to death. So, anyways, when you were telling me that, it just reminded me of my dad,
Mm-hmm.
and during those final moments.
Speaking of deep psychological things, do both of you have Amazon Prime?
I do.
I do.
There's a really strange 7-episode show called Solos.
Solos?
Solos. Literally solos. SOLOS.
Uh-huh.
And it's fundamentally one person on camera just going off. To give you a hint, the first solo, episode 1, is a black guy who's dying of cancer, and so he paid $30,000 to hire his twin, a guy that looks just like him. It's actually him, and tell him how to be himself to take over his family. He has a wife and I think 2 kids. And the second one is a 71-year-old Helen Mirren who fundamentally had a psychological disorder that meant she never felt seen. So when she saw a TV ad for them looking for older people to go into space, and be studied. She signed up. So it's her in the spaceship just as it's passing the moon. And I'm not going to take it any further than that. And the last one, episode 7, is Morgan Freeman with Alzheimer's. And it's a real doozy. Now, the one before that, episode 6, I didn't much care for. But the other episodes, they they're doozies.
Are you saying Morgan was talking about his Alzheimer's onset, or is he narrating a show about Alzheimer's?
No, he's when you first see him, he's sitting on a park bench out on the sand on a beach. And this guy comes in and they let him in. Nobody's supposed to see him, but this guy got himself in. And he gives him an injection that returns his memory. And that's when it gets really powerful.
Do you know if he or Kayla, do you know if your dad had diabetes?
I don't think so. Well, oh yeah, I don't think so.
The reason I ask is I just ran across another piece of information that said basically diabetes stage 3 was Alzheimer's.
Yes, that's the new designation. Diabetes type 3 is Alzheimer's.
I just learned that this week.
No, I've known that for a couple of years. It's just amazing how they are fitting pieces together and how they all relate to fundamentally our diet and exercise.
Yeah, yeah.
So I wanted to share this about my dad. My mom said that they would go to the doctors on a weekly basis just to check on their health, especially my dad. And they had to take a memory test. And my dad always passed that memory test. That's what she was telling me. She goes, yeah, your dad was really smart. He would remember things really well. She's like, me, not so much. But Jack, is that show, are they actors, or
They
is it a script, or is it not a script?
Well, so the thing that will blow you away is number one, they are actors, and number two, they give really powerful performances.
Okay. So
I'm
Morgan
I'm not
Freeman doesn't
kidding
have
you.
Alzheimer's.
No, he doesn't have Alzheimer's, but he's playing a guy that has Alzheimer's, and then he's given his memory back, and then it gets really powerful. The other ones, all of them, every one of them, uh, it's most of them were people I never heard of other than Helen Mirren, and we can always expect something potent from her. But the other ones, the amount of power they put into their roles, it's really stunning.
Interesting, because I haven't not heard of this series, but I will check it out.
Well, they call it season 1. I don't know that there's a season 2. I didn't go back to look. But it's the only one that they're pushing right now. Um, and I didn't know about it except that it popped up on on the homepage, and I thought, well, I got nothing else to look at. Let's watch this. And it was rather captivating, although I have to admit I fast forwarded through episode 6.
Kayla, did I mention to you that my daughter sent me a book?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I mentioned it to Jack yesterday. It's about how I deal with my autism since my daughter has diagnosed me as autistic.
Yep. I think I was
I
there
think
briefly when you were talking about it.
there's,
Uh,
I think a lot of people we know are on the spectrum somewhere.
the thing that actually got me also is a lot of people call it what's that P word that says you put things off forever?
Procrastinating?
Uh, yeah, I definitely aligned with that one.
You sure it wasn't hoarding?
Well, there's that one too. But I can still walk around my house, okay? So there. Yeah, see, I'm looking at this big pile of laundry that's been here for days and I haven't done it yet.
Hmm. Well,
And yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I like to look at life and life in the terms of energy too. You know, I'm not really well versed in scientific jargon, but if I'm to take a stab at it, can't we like aren't our particles? Isn't like can it be in multiple places? You know, and the reason why I say that is because thoughts are actions. like when you go, the classic example is when you go to the DMV. Nobody likes the DMV, and it's all shitty, and you walk in there depressed because of how you're treated. I mean, on a scientific cellular level, I would imagine that's like a bunch of cells that suck. No, they don't suck. You know what I mean? It's just that like everybody in the place together experiencing something, that energy. And the frequency is really low. No judgment, but low frequencies. That's another thing. It's like high frequencies and low frequencies. Whereas when you're surrounded by people or even engaged with someone who has such a high frequency, you just naturally feel good. Um, and so I like to think of it too as, afterlife, for instance, when people see ghosts, that it's there literally them here, perhaps. Maybe not the complete them, it's just the transformed them. In some way, in some cellular level, their presence is here. And then it transcends and goes somewhere else. Yeah, that's the best way I could describe it. Near death experiences, though, I think that's the window of the mind, the window of like a subconscious into a world that, like if we could only see what we see now as live human beings. Um, I don't know what happens when we transition. I have absolutely no idea. But I would imagine that um, a part of us is here on Earth, and a part of us is somewhere else in time. Does that make sense?
I hear what you're saying. I don't actually have any explanation for that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if we did have an explanation for that, we would elevate as a society.
Yeah. What I understand from science about probability waves is they apply to particles. And I think it's a big jump to apply them to big objects, like human beings. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's a big jump.
You know how like a lot of people are saying you can actually manifest your life, and I'm a big believer in that because I feel like I'm a very good example of that.
Hmm.
When I was 15, I had a singular purpose in life, and that was just to dance in Tahiti. I mean, there was no judgment about, well, obviously judged it, and everybody else in my family judged it. But in my mind, I'm like, well, that's what I want to do. And you just kind of put it out there to the universe. That's what a lot of woo woo people say. And then it happens, and if you detach yourself from like the goals or the timelines or the things that humans create, you know, then you miss the journey. And that was the journey. That was my journey to doing what I did in Tahiti. Um, and to me, that was the most valuable part of it. But there's got to be something said about energy and the way it moves and the way other particles or energy here on Earth connect with that energy and pull you through it.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Would you still say the same thing if I replaced the word energy with the word intent?
I would just prefer the word energy because I feel like it has more opportunities, and
Hmm.
I feel like it's a lot more scientific than intent. So if you want to talk about science, to me, energy would probably be best
Okay.
described as intent. I don't know. That's just my.
No, no, this is good. This is why I'm asking. Could I ask about another word?
Uh-huh.
Would you actually say the same thing if I replaced the word energy with mood?
Mood?
Mood.
Oh, mood. No, absolutely not. I wouldn't say the same thing at all.
Okay.
I'm actually looking at it from a scientific lens. I'm not looking at it from a human lens whatsoever. Like, I'm not
Hmm.
putting my mood, my desires into it. I'm not putting my
Hmm.
intent. I'm not specifying, like, I just remember just really, it's just like it's the newness of youth, and having not already been having, like, of course I had judgments, okay, but I didn't let that stop me. But I don't know what I have really gone for. If I took the 51-year-old me now and I planted that seed, and I'd never danced before in my life, and I planted that seed in my head at 51, I wouldn't have done it knowing what I know now. And so that's what I'm trying to extract from the actual experience is like, we really do put limitations on ourselves as human beings. And the only way I could think of something that's absolutely fluid, um, and everlasting, the thing that I think about is energy. I feel like mood is human, and it's like too, like, uh, what's that word I used? Too judging, too judgmental.
In any case, I've got to run.
Jack, good to see you again.
You
There
have
are some
Oh, you
questions
got
that
10 minutes, dude.
well, no, I want to, I want to, the dialysis machine needs shutting down, and that's a
Oh,
10-minute process. So
okay.
okay.
I'm going to go do that. But speaking of the DMV, I have to go there every 2 years, every other year. And last time I was there, I discovered that if I had a walker, I would get carte blanche service. So I have a walker and I'm going
Better
to use
dust
it.
off your walker.
I've got a walker now. My Medicare decided that, you're getting too old. Let's get you a walker. And so I have a big fancy walker, and I've never used it. The only person in the family that used it was my wife when she sprained her foot. And but so I'm going to use it at the DMV this year.
All right.
Now, did you
See,
do that when you observed someone with a walker get a lot of service, or
I
did
was
you
standing
actually?
in line in front of a guy with a walker, and I turned to him, and I was 80, and he was 83 or something. And we got to talking, and all of a sudden, somebody came to him and said, "Sir, there's another line over here for you." So he goes
Oh.
over there, and he's the first one up. And I thought, well, I can do that. And what's more, most of the time they don't have a place to sit, so he sits in his walker. And I have a walker with a seat, so um, I can just sit in my walker and not have to sit by the 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 cheesy people that won't wear a mask in there. But I
Well, good
drove
to know.
I drove since I've had a driver's license since I was 16, and
Mhm.
I only have one eye. And nobody did anything until one day they decided to give me an eye test. And that was when I'd moved down here. And she wanted me to close my right eye. And I said, well, I can see the top line, but that's all I can see. And she hit the Jesus button, the big red button that says, oh shit. And they panicked and went wacko. And I suddenly went from a 10-year license to a 2-year license.
Mm.
It's like, come on, guys, I'm a pilot. I fly airplanes. I flew gliders. I drive cars. What's this bullshit? I need a driving test.
Yeah.
But there is something cool about the California DMV. You don't have to take the written anymore. You can go online and just take the school. It doesn't take you more than a half an hour to do it. It takes almost that long to take the written at the place. And when they won't let you fail. You get a wrong answer, they go back and work you through it again until you get it right. And when you finished it, it's in the record. You've taken the test. And I figured
Well,
that's how an awful lot of people get driver's licenses in California that really don't understand English. They must
and, and don't
make it
understand
through,
how to drive.
and all of the above. So, kids, I got to run. Bye.
All right,
Bye.
Jack, have fun at the DMV next time.
Yep.
Maybe I should get a walker. Last time I went to the DMV, I got there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I think I didn't get seen until like 3:15 or 3:30
Yeah.
because I needed
Well,
to do it that day.
how come you don't make an appointment?
Because I had to do it that day, and the
Oh,
appointments
okay.
were like several days ahead of. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Ooh, that's terrible.
yeah, I did bring my laptop, so I was able to plug in, but still,
Yeah.
it wasn't all
Wow.
a waste of time. Should have brought my violin and cheered up the place,
Yeah, there you go.
like what you were saying about the energy.
Put some energy in there.
Yeah. By the way, when I ask those questions, I am asking to really understand the science aspect of it. Because just like people have this notion of quantum entanglement and see, they take one notion in science and they immediately think they know the interpretation in some other area of experience. Like my understanding about quantum entanglement is at a particle level or subatomic level, which is another huge leap before you say, well, this applies to people as well. So I'm really trying to understand how you go from one to another, and that's why I do ask those questions.
Mhm. Mhm. And again, I'm very limited when it comes to like science jargon, oh,
So
or
am
even
I.
like the understanding in general. But what was I going to say? So when I consider speaking in terms of science and in terms of really looking at it objectively, I really close out a lot of limiting words
Mhm.
or limiting possibilities.
Mhm. This idea of manifesting. Can I also try another question on you?
Yeah.
Does it align, or is it very different from the saying, "God helps those who help themselves"?
Oh God, no. It's not aligning with that.
Okay, good, because I do
Yeah.
hear that from religious people.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe that's their interpretation. I try not to judge because it's, again, judgment is limiting.
Mhm.
So I try not to judge, especially if I'm going to have like some type of connection or experience with them or, you know.
I couldn't agree with you more. In fact, that's why the word prejudice basically is prejudging, right? You don't want to prejudge
Mm-hmm.
and then,
Yeah.
constrain the outcome, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what prejudice is. You don't want to be prejudiced about that.
Well, here's another problem. Sometimes if you don't judge, you do limit yourself. you know, sometimes if you try, well, I guess, I shouldn't say that. If you try it a certain way and it doesn't work, so I suppose like the experience of it not working is not limitations whatsoever.
Wait, say that again?
Okay, I'll give you another example. Okay, especially, okay, for this fundraising event, here's a perfect example. For
Hmm.
this fundraising event, it's the event that I had always wanted from the very beginning. Okay, but I knew we didn't have the budget for it, and I was getting a lot of slack. So we had our first fundraising event. It went off with a hitch, and I wanted this momentum going. Um, and then the second fundraising event was a complete flop, and the third fundraising event was mildly disastrous. It was still okay. And so the only reason why the second one was a flop is because I listened to other people. And the part of me knew like, yeah, that's not going to work. And it didn't. And for me, it was like, well, shame on me. Like, why didn't why didn't I know what would work? And like, really, well, why didn't I let people know that's not going to work and then try and use another angle and not have the fundraising event that way? So, if you want even more context, my boss wanted this fundraising event free, and we had people who had never like seen like the donor experiences that I've seen, like bougie places. And I know it doesn't have to be that intense, but you do give people a better experience, and you do create kind of this like atmosphere of people wanting to spend money.
Mhm.
And anyhow, people who were on the committee had gone and like, oh, let's just go to the civic center or the performing arts center, where it was not very nice. And then, hey, oh, let's like, invite all of these vendors that were only like, vendors of a certain nature, like they were only like Mexican vendors. Okay, so that kind of limits the constituent base. And then let's invite everybody, including our clients. Well, our clients don't have money, period. And then there was this like, oh, well, I've seen organizations spend, or invite everybody for free, and they get all of this stuff donated. And so I was like, oh, we'll try it then. We'll try it. We'll invite our clients, and we'll invite the general public, and we'll see what they say. So it was more like a community event instead of a fundraiser. We still had a silent auction there. We still had raffle over there. But anyways, that's what made it a complete flop the second time. And it was because I was listening to these limited opinions.
Mhm.
And therefore, I felt like I limited my job. And so now I don't do that. Anyway, so I forget why I said why I said that, and to what context. So
Well,
anyway.
I understand that there's a history and there's an influence with how the outcome is influenced by, what ideas get fed into the event, and that you to be collaborative, let other people's opinions, have some sway. And by the way, this is a really cool aspect of collaborology I've been thinking about quite a lot. This is one of the first things I say is you don't have to collaborate with everybody. And
Yeah,
one of the
yeah,
skills early
absolutely.
in a collaboration is, can I actually produce something good with this person? Or is this going to be either negative or not worth the effort, even if it does turn out, slightly good?
Yes.
And that's a key aspect of collaborology that I have explicitly tried to recognize and at least jot down some notes on. So this is a good story that you're sharing about how sometimes collaboration isn't the way to go. In fact, Ted
Yeah.
Nelson, Jack will tell you, Ted Nelson, he's famous. I remember him for saying, we haven't learned how to collaborate. The best works in art, science, physics, whatever, are still produced by a single individual, not groups of people working together. And in fact, if you take groups of people working together, like there's a programming language called Ada, and it was actually defined by a military uh, group. There's a lot of military contractors and the government, and they all got together and designed a programming language called Ada. Nobody in business ever uses Ada. The only people that use this Ada language are those contractors that work for the military who are required to use that language. So that's another example of why collaboration doesn't work. Now, I will give you one example where collaboration did kind of work, and then we can talk about it more. And that's, people know it by the Manhattan Project, where a bunch of people got put together and they produced the atomic bomb.
Mm-hmm.
But the more you look into it, the more it actually turns out one person was definitely in charge. Now, he didn't know all the science, but he definitely had the authority to tell people what to do. Hey, Heiner, welcome. Hey, just by the way, Heiner, you just missed Jack. Jack just dropped off, but yeah, he was here for the first hour. And now Kayla was recapping a bit. Heiner? Okay, I hear you now, or I hear
Yes, I'm
audio.
here.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, we were talking about Kayla and that she had a fundraising event yesterday that went off swimmingly. And we were talking about how things go well or not well because she was contrasting that with the results from prior fundraisers from previous years. And you probably have a perspective on this because you've attended many conferences of people trying to help the world survive. And I know you have many stories of frustration about how long things take or how things don't work or how people can't collaborate. And I was also sharing that, in my opinion, one of the first things about learning collaborology or how to collaborate is to determine, can you collaborate with this person or group? Is it possible? Or is it just not going to work out? Now, that does sometimes leak in a little bit of prejudice, but that's where you have to be careful and use a little bit of judgment slash experience. Anyway, so that's where we've been talking. There's a few other things, but just to bring you up a little bit up to speed, Heiner, up over.
Okay, well, I'm just popping in and out. I'm here in the countryside in a nice family environment, and I'm with a friend in the woods at a lake and preparing this Delphi global peace bell ringing, and I will send the invitation for March 20th to you, Sam, so you can share it. We are presently doing it in English, but it's well received, and we have the Delphi Games and the Earth Society Foundation and me with For Futures on deck. And I'm running a little bit this event. So let me look into the records, what Kayla was doing, and definitely organizing with all these interests and assumptions and different people in different mindsets is not so easy. So I just wanted to say hello, as I promised yesterday, but actually we are here in a situation where we are with kids and we are about to say soon. It was good to see you, and again next weekend.
Oh, you're dropping off already?
Sounds like it.
Yes, I'm dropping off now.
Okay, Heiner. Good to at least hear you
The
momentarily.
sun is setting and we are about to leave. Bye-bye.
Okay. All right.
Bye-bye.
Later. I was about to suggest to him that if he needed a development director.
He has a great one. That's looking.
Yeah, I've even written a letter of reference.
Yeah. Hold on. Get this guy's attention because he is. Wait. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Rocky. I'm sorry. That wasn't for you. Hello?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, thank goodness. I have a 14-year-old chocolate lab mix, and he's deaf. Well, I don't know if he's deaf. But yeah, he really can't. He doesn't respond to calls anymore. Like I'll tell him like food's ready, and that used to excite him, but now no, like he can't hear.
Wait, do you have 2 dogs or 3 dogs?
3 dogs. 3 dogs.
Yeah, the third. You see, I hear a lot about Eclipse,
Yeah,
and I thought Rocky was another husky. So I
he
didn't
is.
think that Rocky was the chocolate lab mix. What's the name of the third one? The
Indy.
older one.
That's Indy.
That's
But
right. Yeah, you rarely talk about Indy. I rarely hear you mention Indy.
he
But I
he's
remember
older.
Indy from previous pictures.
Yeah, he used to be my hiking buddy. It was so cute.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I could take him off leash, and I'd go jogging. I'd go hiking
Hmm.
with him all the time. This is when, both of the kids would go to their dads every other weekend.
Hmm.
And so I would, when they left, I would take Indy with me every Saturday morning, and we would go hiking. It was really cool.
That lab part of a dog, they do like to stick next to humans. So you don't have to
Yeah,
worry about them running off as much. Like I never worry about my Goldens running off. The only time they get excited and run off is when they see another Golden or another dog. And
yeah,
sometimes that's a problem with other people, but they don't understand the Golden just wants to make friends.
yeah. Goldens are very friendly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I might have mentioned my very first Golden that I had for at least over 2 or 3 years. I never even owned a leash. I never even thought about, hey, where's the leash? Never ever. He was just so good with being right next to me and verbal commands, everything. And nobody ever asked me to put him on a leash for years.
Yeah.
So here's another question for you. Did you, I know you mentioned it to Davian. Did he really seriously think about quant before I mentioned it?
Oh, yes, he did. He already knew
Yeah,
what quant was.
yeah. So maybe that's why, because that really is a really hot field right now for people who have the chops for it. I'm trying to get my daughter Veronica to consider it, although she'd rather be an artist. But she's getting a math degree this quarter, in fact, and
You
doesn't know what to do with it.
you know what's cool is so let's see. Max's tutor is Mr. Xavier is young and he's I think he might even be like an assistant professor or something like that. He works in UCLA or he used to work with UCLA. I don't remember. Um, but he was telling Max like, "Hey, you got to figure out what you want to do with college right now. Like just like where do you want to go?" And I like that he said that. Like, "Hey, just figure this out now and have a plan."
Mhm.
And so he goes, "You need to do another extracurricular." And he was encouraging him to be in theater and then perhaps like do a play. And then I was all mentioned to him that you're an actor, like you got your SAG card. And so, anyways, Max said, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'm an actor. Like I worked a couple of gigs, et cetera, et cetera." And then Mr. Xavier was all, "Oh," he's like, "You did?" And he goes, "Well, that's really good." He's all, "We'll definitely continue acting because I don't see very many arts, people who have any art background at UCLA." He's like, "I don't really see that." So I guess he reviews like some of the uh, some of the college applications,
Hmm.
and he was
Hmm.
saying he rarely sees any like anybody with an arts background, and he's got an English major or a master's. I think that's it. English majors and a master's in teaching. I don't remember, but something to that matter. He's your typical Asian that excels really well, and
Hmm.
he had like a college picture of himself with all of these like stashes around his neck, and I'm all yeah, overachiever.
It's surprising to hear you say that he said that, because I think UCLA is one of those schools that does get a lot of Asian applicants. And I thought like 80 or 90% of Asian applicants, or at least, the Chinese Asian population that I know, most of them either have piano or violin or some kind of music that their parents made them learn.
Yeah,
But maybe times have changed.
I think it's indicative of the times. And if you think about it, it makes kind of sense because they were pushing STEM a lot,
Yeah,
which is a
yeah.
good thing. It's still a really good thing. They were pushing STEM a lot when the kids were in grade school. And so, Damien has at least band. Um, and so I don't know if he put that in his application. I wasn't part of it. And then he interned at the Aquarium of the Pacific. So that was really cool.
Mhm.
But yeah,
I feel a rant coming on. I'm trying to suppress it.
Is it a negative rant?
All my rants are
Is
slightly
it
negative.
about
Wouldn't be
is it
a
about the
rant
government?
if it weren't slightly negative.
Well, may I rant about
Please,
myself too?
please
It's
do, because otherwise I would.
so can I talk about me now?
Please do.
Since we've been talking about me. Okay, after I spoke with you, so here's the thing that I learned. I'm really glad that, I had that. I feel like it was like a breaking point with Melissa where I just couldn't contain myself anymore. I was no
Mhm.
longer talking shit behind her back. I was talking shit to her, even though it was really respectful. And
Mhm.
once I got on the phone with you, I just felt like that was like the height of my stress. And yeah, you probably heard it in my voice. And I do not like feeling that way at all. I'm like, I don't like feeling that way. I woke up in the middle of the night. I'm like, I woke up in the morning. I always wake up in the morning with a good feeling. That's something that I love about my life is every single morning I wake up with like a blank canvas and a good feeling. And so I woke up with a blank canvas and a good feeling. And then that feeling again about Melissa came. And I'm like, okay, let me sit with this for a second because I fucking hate. Like, I've been talking shit for the past couple of months and it sucks. And I'm not this way. I've been focusing like just my conversations on things that are petty and engaging with people who like gossip. And that is not me. And I was like, okay, I don't like this. I can't handle this anymore. I need to do something that's different, or something that's more positive that I used to do. And I turned on this, this medium had a 28-minute message about like the fire horse. We're in the year of the horse now, and it's called the fire horse. And so I was listening to that message, and I loved it. It just made a lot of sense, and it just kind of brought a perspective back. And so I went ahead and looked at an Audible, and the same medium actually had like an Audible. And so I ended up like I didn't pay for it because it was like a free trial, but I ended up listening to her Audible for a couple of days. And let me tell you, since I spoke with you, my mind has definitely shifted. Now I'm still looking for another job because I do feel like I'm limited um, in my profession. But once I started like kind of recognizing the destructive behaviors, like the low frequencies, just like engaging in things that really don't serve any purpose in my life except they just keep me stuck. Then the yesterday and the day before were slightly better days. I could handle something that was like last minute or out of proportion or stupid. And so that's why when we were talking about energy, um, I was just thinking about like a lot of mediums also like when they're channeling beings or whatever, they do talk about subconscious. That makes sense to me, and I would like to see that make sense a little bit more to somebody like you. You know,
I would love that. I am very, very curious about all of this. And may I also say, I am honored that when you felt that way, you chose to call me.
no, well, yeah. I mean, you don't judge me, and then you always have like um, neutral advice. I want to say, like you're not afraid to give it to me, but you don't give it like in a harsh, judgmental way. You know, like that's why I like talking to you. You don't, you make difficult questions sound like they're really, I wouldn't say no big deal, but you take the edge off of difficult questions. I'll give you an example. I can't really talk to most people about politics. And yes, whenever you talk politics, is not necessarily the most positive thing in the world, but it still has facts. It still has like, you know, it still has like an objective style to it, even though your mind has already been made up. When you articulate your thoughts, it's always been thought through. That's what I see when you talk about things like politics and things that are really difficult. That's what I mean when I'm saying, like, when you bring up difficult things, or when we have difficult questions, or when I have a difficult question, it's like you take the edge off of it.
Kayla,
Yes.
that's one of the best compliments I've ever received. Thank you.
Aw.
Oh, really?
Oh, I'm glad I could give you a one that you appreciate.
I know there have been a lot of people that have come and gone through GCC and CSG, and not all of them say this, but some of them are are pretty clear. And I've brought this up before that the position and the stance and the questions that I ask do seem hard for some people to take.
I'm wondering if there's a sense of frustration, because I feel like when people are stuck, it's a frustration, and it can quickly turn into something that's argumentative. Like,
This is an
perhaps
okay, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I was going to ask what did you mean in more details.
okay. I was thinking perhaps it's not just rooted in their own beliefs, but when you interact with people who are self-proclaimed intellects, or people who perhaps think they um, have like a higher intellect than maybe. Okay, I'm not going to do that because that's very judgy. But maybe if it's rooted in their beliefs, and they can't articulate what they're trying to convey, that may answer some of your questions, or may have like a certain perspective, then perhaps that makes them very frustrated, and then they get stuck, you know? I
I
don't
think
know.
I do know. I think I do know. And you're exactly, talking about the point that I was trying to bring up. Whereas, and I'd like to clarify this for you and for the record, is that, and I think you know this, is that when I ask these questions, if you consider them hard questions, when I ask these questions, I'm not necessarily looking for an answer. In fact, sometimes I get frustrated when the answer comes back too quickly. I'm not looking for an answer so much as I'm looking for someone who's also willing to ask and explore that question together with me. You know the difference?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because when I ask certain questions and an answer immediately comes back, and I will have to confess, there's a little bit, why sometimes I had these moments with Barry, is that I wanted to explore these topics with Barry, but he always had an answer. And it was always quick, and it was always something he wrote up like 25 years ago. So to me, it wasn't that he was asking about why I was asking the question and the context of the question. He was just saying, well, let's just make this more efficient because I've already wrote about this. So here's the link. So read it and then come back.
Yeah, Barry, but have you sat with it?
I didn't use those words, but I essentially was trying to ask him to do that.
Yeah.
And he's not the only one. And Barry, by the way, I adore Barry. I
Of
extremely appreciate him.
course.
I'm just talking about
Yeah,
sometimes, when we had these kind of exchanges.
I know. Well, it's kind of like when you come into conflict with someone, whether it's a relationship or something, and you don't really, or okay, here's a better one. Like sometimes I'm feeling down, and I don't want, and I have a problem, but I just want to unload my problem, and I don't want people to like try to fix me. I just want people to hear me. Um, I get frustrated when people like are quick to try to fix. And I feel like sometimes it's because it's their own self-interest in hand, not mine. So that might have something to do with like when people are combative, when it comes to difficult questions, is they can't really, number one, detach like their root, like the root belief, and number two, they can't really or don't want to sit with it because they have their own agenda.
I think I understand that. And I think that's sometimes why I'm asking first whether I can ask questions or offer an opinion or a thought about something.
Yeah,
I
it's
brought
good
this
to
up
ask
before.
questions. Oh, go ahead.
You've probably seen or heard me share this before. Do you know about the video called The Nail in the Head?
No.
Let me see if I can share
Interesting.
this with you. It's
Oh, are you gonna
called
make me look at my phone?
it's not about the nail. Let me share this with you. Copy. Oh shoot, I'm on a different device. Oh, sorry, I have to
Oh,
go to a different device.
can you send it to the can you send it via what is it?
Yeah, I can either
Messenger?
put it into the messenger or into this Zoom chat, but let me go to
Well, the
my
messenger is
other
better.
device. Okay, I'll put it in Messenger. It's a very popular video. In fact, I think you're going to recognize it when I send it. So let me go get it. Let's see, search. Nail in the head. Yes, here we go. Yes, this is the one. And I'm going to copy the link and then put it in Messenger. Messenger to you or to this group? I'll just put it to
It's up
you
to
for
you.
now. I'll just put it to you. I'll put it in the group later. Okay, there it is. In fact, if you watch a few seconds, you'll probably recognize it.
Okay. All right. Not about the nail. I do recognize that. I gotta look at it again.
It's about the standard difference between men and women and sharing.
Well, it's 9:30. Any other
Oh,
topics?
I thought you were watching. I
Oh
was
no, 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 no. I was
I
just
was
like looking
silent
at
thinking that you were watching. Okay,
I'll watch it
yeah.
later.
Yeah, that's fine. No, this is probably a good time because, like I say, I always have a stack of things, but it's good. I just wanted to review how the event went yesterday, and there was actually some pretty interesting things about it that are collaborological that I could follow up with later. But I think this is a fine time to take a break. In fact, when I went downstairs to go make my coffee, I haven't
Uh-huh.
even been back downstairs to get it, so it's cold now.
Ah,
I gotta go zap it. I gotta zap it for 55 seconds.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway, well, give each of the puppies a hug for me,
Of
and
course, all the time.
give me like updates, one or two a year, and let me know how Damien's doing on his quant projects.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, Kayla.
Talk
Congratulations.
to you. Thank
Talk to you later.
you.
Bye
Okay,
bye.
bye.